Hello everyone, Burb here. Cygames just kicked on the fence and gave us a bunch of free carrots along with a new free event SSR card. And the best thing is we have to do absolutely nothing except log into the game because this is to celebrate the new hit Uma Musume spin-off anime, Uma Yuru. And no, not this one that's releasing in a couple of weeks that was announced on the PocketTube the other day. This Umayuro, the first season of Umayuro, had an event just like this in JP. This anime is actually available on YouTube completely for free. If you are interested in it, it's just a bunch of 5-minute episodes that are actually quite a bit of good fun. But over the next couple weeks, we will be able to go and grab 5 copies of the Tonino Gimlet Power Card over the course of about 4 to 6 day periods because we are on accelerated schedule to coincide with the release in the original JP at this time. We will also be getting 150 carrot gifts over this period. This will extend further along past the first 5 episodes, of which the last one will be on September 17th, for a grand total of 22 periods of free carrots for 150 each. Hopefully I counted that right, to be 3,300 carrots, which is actually 2 10 pulls plus 2 pulls. So I will take 22 free pulls for sure. And again, we have to do absolutely nothing. So if you saw this in your inbox, that is basically the reason why. So don't worry, we are getting the other 4 copies of the SSR to make that MLB for you completionists. Now, YouTube has gone and changed the view rules, which means that you've already been counted no matter what your watch time is. So more people are going to go and watch a news video than, my standard mathematical content. Normally, when we do like support cards and stuff, we would go and make a video detailing the mathematical analysis. But, that would be 2 separate videos in the same one. It would kind of be a bit of cheesy, don't you think? So how bad is the Tino Gimlet SSR power card anyways? This isn't just to go and rag on a bad card or rag on a free card. There are uses to free cards because everyone has their own situations. What I want to go and show with this one is to teach you basically how you can go and discern whether a card is good or bad, because when they give you a free card, there will always be a problem with it, and that is actually useful. So I do want to go over this card. We won't be going completely in depth because this was originally a news video, but I do want to go into this card. We will be talking only the MLB version because you're gonna get it. You just have to log in. There is literally no effort to get MLB for this card. So I'm not going over 1LB and 2LB. We are looking at this at max level. And in general, these free-to-play cards or these event cards that they give you for free generally don't even compete unless they're MLB, even the good ones. And this one, I will attest, is not the greatest one that has ever been released. At max limit break, we have 25 friendship bonus with 30 mood effect, with a stamina bonus and a power bonus that's tied to its friendship. There is no SP bonus, and of course, a bunch of other stats are missing on this card. The 5 race bonus is not too relevant now that we are outside of Trackblazer. When compared to other power cards that are obviously part of the gacha system, which are going to be better, it basically gets destroyed because not only is it free, it just doesn't have the same power output. El Condorpasa being the premier power output for a great reason because of its training effectiveness. Its power is just ridiculously high above the rest. IT Ruby being a very low investment card is practically the same but still beats it out by 1 power, and of course the 2 skill points because it does have 1 skill point bonus. And it's even a card like Daiwa Scarlet is pretty much even, if not beating it slightly, when this card is practically used only for the skill itself. Now you'll say, hey, this is a free-to-play card. Of course it's not going to go and compete with all the gacha options. Well, if you look at the, let's look at the cross-trainings too, and this is what really goes and finds the gap a lot more, is that El Condorpasa has great trainings on everywhere. We're going to notably look at speed because that's what you're hitting in Grand Live, but it's the same for all of them. Pasa and even Ruby is even, and Daiwa Scarlet is even. Of course, the skill point bonus does transfer. It still falls behind in that respect. When you go and take a look against other free or event options, we'll look at the event options to start here. It's okay. I mean, it's similar, but we're going to talk about the problems with it before. It is pretty much the same thing as Kawakami Princess, although I would say that in general, if I'm running a power card, the point is that it's probably a shorter track, like I will talk about later, and most likely I am running this just to get some power. So yes, it does give you a tiny bit more stamina in the respect due to its bonus, but even the Kawakami Princess card, which is not really held in high regard, is really fighting against this that much. In fact, the Agnes Digital card, which is just an SR card, is a lot better than this particular one because of its SP bonus that it does give you and the fact that it has high training effectiveness. Alarm bells should be ringing whenever you have a free card because, well, it's free, and if they give you a good one, you're not going to use the gotcha system, which uses your carrots, which eventually goes and makes you buy carrots, which gives them money. So there will always be a problem with a card like this, and I haven't mentioned it yet, but you should go and look at this and see where the problem is. You can pause the video here if you want to make it an exercise. Otherwise, after that, I'm just going to show it to you. Okay, so you've probably seen it. There's no specialty priority. This is major because when you have a card that is a off training that also doesn't have any specialty priority, there has to be a very, very, very good reason to run it. In general, any card without specialty priority needs to be incredibly good either on the off trainings because it's not going to be on the main training so much, or it has to be so good on the main trainings that the fact it's only there 18% of the time doesn't matter because when it's there, it's going to high roll and give you enough of the stat, or it's a skill card that has a skill so critical that you must run it as well. This is also not taking into account it's a power card in Grand Live, which is really, really difficult to use at times. So I'll be going through each one of these three things. When you're taking a look at cards in particular without specialty priority, it needs to fall into one of these three big categories. For off trainings, what you're looking for is cards with training effectiveness, mood effect combined, or cards with stamina bonus, or rather stat bonuses that are relevant, or SP bonus. All these get transferred to the trainings that are not on the card itself. We're not just talking about power cards here, we're talking about all cards without specialty priority that are considered roamers, essentially. Stuff like a good example of this you probably don't know of is actually just even Super Creek, which does have specialty priority, but also the late surgery card Akuno Dicta Stamina is kind of the same way. It has very high training effectiveness, and because of that, despite the fact that it doesn't have any specialty priority, that's a benefit because it goes and shares its training effectiveness across your speed trainings, your wit trainings, all the other trainings that you're grabbing, and then you only need to hit the stamina button a couple of times in order to go and make it work. This card has 30% mood effect with no training effectiveness, along with 1 stamina bonus and 2 power bonus, which is powerful, except the power bonus is tied to a unique effect based on friendship gauge bond up, which means that you're getting this 2 power bonus much later in the career than normal. Because it doesn't have specialty priority, yes, it won't be on power that much, but then again, it could just as easily be on guts and be on vacation as well. So it's going to be difficult to actually go and increase its bond a little bit as well. No no SP bonus either is not helping it as well. Remember that TEF is greater than MEF because mood effect is multiplied by the mood coefficient, which is 20% for great mood or 10% for good mood, 0 for normal mood, etc., etc. It does go into the negative. And it's roughly about 5% MEF to 1% TEF. It is technically a bit more due to the multiplication of TEF and MEF being independent. So like if you have 10% TEF and 10% MEF, or I guess in that case would be 50% MEF, that 50% is multiplying both the 10% from the TEF before as well, along with all the other modifiers. So it is technically a little bit more efficient, but a good rule of thumb is, roughly between 4 and 6% MEF equals 1 TEF, because this is the, if you don't know, this is the training equation the game uses. So this has roughly, with this 30% mood effect, about 6% effective TEF. When you take a look at even some of the cards that aren't really well regarded, including the winning ticket power card, which is completely free in the club shop that you can get eventually by joining a club and trading shoes, even that has 5% TEF attached to it, and this one does not. Agnes Digital as well, which I will keep basically sending as laurels because it's a very comparable card because it also doesn't have any specialty priority, has 10% training effectiveness and 30% mood effect, which is a whole 10% more stats when it goes and roams around the map. A good like rule of thumb that I use to compare it, obviously it's not going to meet this level, but Mr. CB is a very good example of a card that, despite having very high specialty priority, or decently high at 50, it is a decent roamer itself because it does have a level of Tef, a level of mood effect, and it does have bonuses, which is, to be fair, wit bonus, which is less useful, and SP bonus. So the spattering of all four of those combined means it's a serviceable card even when it's on the speed tap and it's not on the wit tap. This may not even be the best example, but it's one commonly used card that is low investment that does have a ridiculously high amount of stat gain, even when it's not exactly on the wit stat itself. The second thing that you want to do, like if it doesn't have specialty priority, it has to have great primary training. That's another way that you could use a power card this way, or any card like a speed card. Friendship bonus, training effect, mood effect, stamina bonus, power bonus, and SP bonus all contribute to this. And really, we are going to be focusing on the friendship bonus. Think of it like this. Friendship bonus 25 is not the greatest, to be honest. And yes, you still have the stamina and power bonus, which are done on power training. But again, that power bonus is tied to the bond itself, so it is less than a true power bonus. Thinks that it even falls behind these event cards, the previous two power cards that were released in Kawakami Princess and Marvelous Sunday, which have 35 and 37.5 respectively. Yes, I'm looking and cherry picking stats on these particular cards, but you can kind of see how this is kind of sitting in the middle of these different ways that these cards can be useful. And while it makes it, like, I guess, okay in all respects, it's not going to be at a level that you're going to use in your decks very often. Kawakami Princess notably has 2 power bonus, just like this card does. However, it is not tied to bond. You get that power bonus directly at the start, which is very useful when actually pushing up by pressing the speed button when it decides to go to speed as well. To take it into account compared to other SR options, basically this low friendship training, this low friendship bonus makes it so that despite it having very high bonds, it doesn't really translate into a good power tap because there's no TEF behind it. There's no training effectiveness behind it. There's no mood effect behind it, and there's no friendship bonus behind it. So yes, if you are running multiple power cards, this will go and amplify more than a lot of the other options, including Hishi Amazon and even Special Week and stuff, or Sakura Bakashino, which, Sakura Bakashino is behind, but remember this has 80 specialty priority, not 0. Again, I've been rambling a little bit, but even all these ones, that's really the key to having a good power tap card. It's hard for me to explain because you just kind of get the feel of these kinds of things when looking at cards over time. But the combination of friendship bonus, training effectiveness, mood effect, and the actual stat bonuses are what contribute to this, and other SR cards that you have options of. If they're MLB, generally will go and clear it because of this particular reason. Even though Hishi Amazon only has, I think, 1 power bonus, because it's, friendship bonus and mood effect are so high, it's going to amplify that more than the Tenino Gimmick card. And because we're only running solo power, that's actually quite useful. The final thing is that, hey, are the skills good enough that it warrants running? And its skills are actually incredibly good, to be perfectly blunt. It is firm condition, straightaway spurt is incredible. With Take the Chance and Eager for mediums, that seems like a pretty good niche for it, as well as updrafters for the miles. And with Storm and Drung, it wasn't intended to be good because this was originally released prior to the 2nd anniversary changes. Storm and Drung actually is a pretty serviceable card skill. It's not the best one in the world because you do have to exist in the late race in the back half of the pack, which I believe is 5th or worse in this one. Oh, it's distance 50%. So in tracks where you're not going to have like the dirt tracks where all the debuffers are not going to be built correctly and screw this up, you generally will be in the back 50% of the pack as long as you're running things that are, as long as there's not really, I guess it's a little tough because runaways exist too. But Storm and Drung is a fine skill, perhaps a little bit worse than other skills of its class, but it's takeable is what I'm trying to say this time. Before it wasn't, now with the 7-1 changes, it is. The thing is that, like, there's a situation that's happened with, which was the Marvy Power card, which, yes, was used in Trackblazer for its race bonus, but even then it was Fast and Furious for late surgers, and you would probably still use this in Unity Cup 2.0, which we did, for the reason that Fast and Furious was a great mid race option for late surgers, and Storm and Drung, although being a good late race option for end closers, there are just cards that exist, like Mr. CB, that are low investment that just give you great mid race skills. Like end closers at this point can survive with the general skills, along with the specific skills like Daring Strike, and that is their advantage over the rest of the field. There's no need for another end closer finicky late race skill when the parents are good and you get some decent whites, and then of course the cards themselves that are speed and wit cards are still supplying you enough golds for you to function. This is a not a desaturated market where we are just struggling to grab mid race like the late surgers are currently. Also, in Grand Live, you have to think about when you're using power cards, which is normally the shorter tracks, which is not necessarily those mediums, which means in miles and sprints, if you're running a power card, you're not going to be running two power cards more often than not. So the slot that you would go and use a power card is even a 0 LB version of Ruby for a skill that's much more impactful than a finicky late race skill with another hopefully less finicky late race skill. I find it to be somewhat consistent, honestly, but Lightning Surge, at least when it hits, practically wins you the game if it procs at perfect timing, and of course you have all the other prerequisites for the thing. This is basically a win condition compared to just another nice late race skill. There may be a niche, like I said, there's always a situation where someone can go and use a card and find success. First of all, it may not be the most efficient thing in the world, but someone's going to high roll and find great use out of this card, find great use out of the skill, and have it go and win them races that matter. That will always exist due to the, number of trials. There's the law of large numbers and such. There also is a genuine niche for this for new players who don't have literally any stamina options, who are playing a 2,000 meter to 2,200 meter course, a shorter medium that you have enough stamina sparks that they have been parent building. You just don't have access to borrow or use any stamina cards, and perhaps your SR cards are not up there to support the amount of stamina that you need for these shorter medium tracks. I'm trying to give it some benefit of the doubt. It can be useful there. You will have to high roll because of its low specialty priority, but it does have stamina bonus on a power card. So you probably just run Hishi Amazon if you are needing a power card because you don't have a stamina card to you. But there is always a use for stuff this. However, do note that our last one, we don't actually get MLB for until September 17th, which gives us literally 2 days until the actual CM. And of course, the Super Creek and the Mr. CB banner, which is basically an end closer banner that has additional effect for pretty much everyone due to Super Creek, is also released the day after we get MLB as well. So I would much rather, if you have a spark available and you're still able to go and get that 45,000 carats for Measure Romanu with SSR for the next scenario, this could be a good bridge for you as well instead. And you get basically 2 great cards, one for end closers and one just generally good wit card, and one for stamina in Super Creek to build that up over time as well. So it's just really weird timing, and it's kind of funny that this card kind of somewhat exists because of the 7-1 changes, but I just wanted to have a bit of fun with it. And I don't normally talk about events cards. I don't normally talk about cards, and I in a way like this, in a news video, I thought it was just kind of fun to go. I thought that it was kind of fun to go and structure it this way because it was a message that Cygames sent us. But I hope you did enjoy this, and I think that, the point that I'm trying to make is that these free cards always will have problems. They will usually have one glaring problem that you can go and look at and figure out what is wrong with this card and why is it not as good. It's not as simple as just, hey, its trainings aren't great. It's why the trainings aren't great. It doesn't have specialty priority. It doesn't have enough friendship bonus to support its power trainings. It doesn't have enough training effectiveness to support its off trainings. There's plenty of issues with this card that you can go and look at other cards that you may own and see whether or not they are good because they stack onto these different roles, or they're bad because they simply don't meet the mark. I hope that this was useful to you, those who have stuck around this far. Otherwise, good luck and enjoy the free card, and hopefully you get good pulls on CB Super Creek if you're going for it, or if you're not, good luck to you in the next Champions meeting. Take care, everyone. Burb out.